Ladies and gentlemen, sons and daughters, men and women of purpose, listen to me. When God created woman, he didn't create a sidekick. He created a solution. He created a force to be reckoned with. He created something so powerful that the enemy had to launch an attack on her from the very beginning, because a woman who knows who she is, a woman who walks in divine authority, is dangerous. She doesn't just live in the world, she changes it. And today I came to speak to the women who refuse to settle. I came to speak to the women who carry nations in their wombs, who birth movements with their prayers, who shift atmospheres with their presence. I came to speak to the women who understand that they are called, anointed, and destined to make history. Let me give you 5 keys that define a world-changing woman. She is unstoppable in the face of opposition. Oh, let me tell you something. When God anoints a woman, no devil in hell can stop her. You can throw her in the pit. You can chain her up. You can talk about her. You can try to bury her under the weight of doubt, fear, and rejection. But what you don't realize is that she was built for the fight. She was designed to rise. She was created for such a time as this. Ask Esther. They told her she was just a girl, just an orphan, just another face in the crowd. But when the time came, when the enemy had a plan to destroy her people, something inside her rose up. Something inside her said, I cannot be silent. Something inside her declared, if I perish, I perish. Because a world-changing woman doesn't wait for permission. She steps into position. She doesn't bow down to fear. She rises in faith. She doesn't shrink back. She leans forward. And I don't know who I'm talking to right now, but there's a woman under the sound of my voice who has been underestimated, who has been pushed to the side, who has been told, you're not enough, you're too much, you're out of order, you're in the wrong place. But let me tell you something. God puts you there. And if he put you there, no man, no system, no tradition, no opposition can take you out. As Deborah, when the men were afraid to lead, Deborah said, fine, I'll do it. She stood up, she prophesied, she gave direction, and the entire nation followed her into victory. Somebody say, I'm coming out of this. Somebody say, I won't back down, because when a woman is anointed, when a woman is appointed, when a woman understands her assignment, she cannot be stopped. She is a builder, not just a dreamer. Oh, listen to me. A world-changing woman is not just a dreamer, she's a builder. She doesn't just sit around talking about what could be, what should be, or what might be. She gets up, rolls up her sleeves, and makes it happen. Because let me tell you something, dreams don't build themselves. Visions don't manifest just because you imagine them. God will give you the blueprint. He'll give you the strategy. He'll give you the resources. But he's looking for a woman who's willing to work, a woman who's willing to push, to labor, to fight, to construct something that will outlive her. Look at Nehemiah. He saw the walls of Jerusalem in ruins. He could have wept. He could have complained. He could have blamed somebody else for not doing it first. But no, he picked up his tools. He gathered his people and he said, we build. And I came to tell somebody, you've been sitting on a dream long enough. You've been waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, the perfect opportunity. But God is saying, get up and build. Get up and write the book. Get up and start the business. Get up and launch the ministry. Get up and lay the foundation, because a wise woman builds her house. She builds her family. She builds her legacy. She builds a place where the next generation can stand taller, reach further, and go higher. Oh, look at Ruth. She wasn't just a woman sitting around waiting for somebody to come rescue her. No, no, no. She positioned herself. She worked the field. She made the right connections. And before long, she walked into a harvest she didn't even plant. And I don't know who I'm talking to, but there's a woman under the sound of my voice. You've been dreaming, you've been hoping, you've been waiting, but God is saying it's time to build. Because when you build, you make room for others. When you build, you create a future beyond yourself. When you build, you shift the atmosphere. She breaks chains for the next generation. Oh, let me tell you something. A world-changing woman is not just living for herself. She's breaking chains for the ones coming after her. She's not just surviving, she's shifting generational cycles. She's not just enduring, she's establishing a new order. Because when God raises up a woman of power, he doesn't just bless her, he blesses everything connected to her. When she prays, generations are covered. When she fights, strongholds are broken. When she moves, atmospheres shift. Look at Deborah. She wasn't just a leader for herself. She led a nation out of oppression. She stood when others sat. She spoke when others stayed silent. She declared war when others were comfortable in bondage. And because she was bold enough to rise up, the whole land had peace for 40 years. Somebody say, it stops with me. The struggle, the pain, the fear, the addiction, the insecurity, the poverty, the rejection, it stops with you. You may have been born into a family of brokenness, but that doesn't mean you have to pass it down. You may have been raised in dysfunction, but that doesn't mean your children have to suffer the same fate. Because when a woman who knows God takes a stand, chains have to break. Ask Hannah. She was barren, she was mocked, she was ridiculed. But instead of letting her pain break her, she broke the curse. She cried out to God. She travailed. She poured herself out in worship. And when God answered her prayer, he didn't just give her a son, he gave her a prophet. Samuel wasn't just any child. He was a chain breaker, a history maker, a world shaker. Because what you fight through today determines what your children walk in tomorrow. Somebody needs to hear me. You are not just fighting for you. You are fighting for your daughters. You are fighting for your sons. You are fighting for your family name. You are tearing down strongholds that have been standing for generations. She is a woman of war and worship. Oh, hear me today. A world-changing woman is not just a woman of words. She's a woman of war. She's not just a woman of dreams. She's a woman of discipline. She's not just a woman of vision. She's a woman of violence in the spirit. Because when she steps into battle, she does not fight with flesh and blood. She fights with, the Bible says in 2 Corinthians 10:04, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. That means when the enemy comes in like a flood, she doesn't panic, she prays. When the enemy tries to take her family, she doesn't run, she whirs. When the enemy tries to shake her faith, she lifts her hands and worships her way through. Look at Hannah. She was barren. She was broken. She was talked about. She was ridiculed. But instead of breaking down, she broke through. She didn't fight back with gossip. She didn't fight back with anger. She fought back with worship. She wept before the Lord. She travailed in his presence. And when she got up, her womb was opened. Her destiny was activated. And her legacy was established. Somebody say, I'm fighting for something. Because let me tell you, a woman of war and worship doesn't just sit back and let life happen to her. She gets in the presence of God and commands her atrophy. She doesn't accept defeat. She declares victory. She doesn't wait for the breakthrough. She brings the breakthrough. Ask Deborah. She wasn't just a judge. She wasn't just a prophetess. She was a warrior. Ooh. When Barak was afraid to go into battle, Deborah said, I'll go with you. She understood that sometimes you have to worship with one hand and war with the other. And I don't know who I'm talking to, but somebody's in the middle of a battle right now. The enemy has tried to steal your peace, steal your joy, steal your family, steal your mind. But I came to tell you it's time to fight. It's time to stop crying over what the devil has done and start prophesying over what God is about to do. It's time to open your mouth and war in the spirit. Because let me tell you something, worship is not weak. Worship is a weapon. Worship is not just a song you sing, it's a declaration of war. Worship shakes the foundations of hell. Worship confuses the enemy. Worship sends a sound into the heavens that says, I will not bow, I will not quit, I will not break. Ask Paul and Silas. They were locked in a prison, bound in chains, surrounded by guards, but at midnight they began to pray and sing praises. And suddenly, oh, somebody shouted, suddenly there was a great earthquake. The prison doors were open and every chain fell off. Because when a woman worships, chains break. When a woman worships, demons shout. Somebody lift your hands and declare, I will fight, I will war, I will worship. She knows who she is. Oh, somebody better hear me today. A world-changing woman is not confused about her identity. She is not wandering, wavering, or wondering. She knows who she is. She is not looking for validation from people, not waiting for approval from the world, because her confidence comes from the one who created her. See, the most dangerous woman on the planet is not the richest woman, not the most educated woman, not the most popular woman, but the woman who knows who she is. Because when she knows who she is, she cannot be manipulated. When she knows who she is, she cannot be intimidated. When she knows who she is, she cannot be stopped. Ask the Samaritan woman. She walked to the well in shame. She carried a past that had broken her. She carried mistakes that had defined her. She was looking for water, but she didn't realize she was about to meet the living water. Jesus looked at her not with condemnation, not with judgment, but with the truth. And he told her who she really was. He told her, you are more than your past. You are more than your pain. You are more than your mistake. And when she got that revelation, she ran back into the city. She wasn't hiding anymore. She wasn't ashamed anymore. She wasn't the same woman anymore. She became a preacher. She became an evangelist. She became a voice that changed her entire town. Because when you know who you are, you start walking different. You start talking different. You start moving different. You start expecting different. Somebody say, I know who I am. Ask Esther. She was just an orphan girl, raised in exile, overlooked and forgotten. But when the moment came, when the enemy tried to wipe out her people, she had to remember, I am not just a girl. I am not just an orphan. I am not just another face in the crowd. I am a queen. And when she realized who she was, she stepped into her authority. She walked into the king's court. She declared, if I perish, I perish. Because when you know who you are, you stop living in fear. You stop living beneath your potential. You stop allowing other people to define you. You stop letting circumstances control you. Somebody shout, I know who I am. Ask Ruth. She could have settled in her sorrow. She could have accepted the label of a widow, of a foreigner, of someone who didn't belong, but she had something inside of her that refused to die. And because she knew that God had more for her, she positioned herself for favor. She positioned herself for increase. She walked into a harvest she didn't plant. Because when a woman knows who she is, she attracts favor. She walks in authority. She doesn't chase blessings. Blessings chase her. Oh, I feel this thing right now. The enemy has tried to keep you confused, tried to keep you insecure, tried to keep you questioning your worth. But the devil is a liar. You are not who they said you were. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your pain. You are chosen. You are called. You are anointed. You are purpose. You are destined. You are a daughter of the Most High God. And when you know who you are, hell has to back up. Demons have to flee. Chains have to break. Doors have to open. Somebody lift your voice and declare, I know who I am.